picked out of here of why this kind of program would be relevant to yourselves as board members and the Vivit community, and why you might like to get involved. So the first one really is about building, being part of a program like this, and an advocacy, social advocacy, if you will. It gives you the opportunity to, on social networks and in the social world, if you will, to build new member contacts, attract new members out there that are on social, and also look at attracting new customers that also might want to look to become part of the Vivit community, and all the forms of programs and collaboration that you have in place. Secondly, by sharing on social media channels via this kind of program, if you will, you'll be able to improve and strengthen your own personal and professional brand. That helps, again, to create awareness of the Vivit community membership and also the program that you run. Thirdly, by staying current and sharing current information, if you will, that's placed within the Everyone's social platform, via the content streams, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, which are aligned to your areas of interests, this can help accelerate the growth of the Vivit community, the online blogs and forums that you guys have in place, and create more visibility of that. The kind of program also sort of enables you to become a go-to source on social and within the industry for the latest information, if you on industry topics and trends, and also the Vivit programs that you guys are running as part of the Vivit community. And also in conjunction with that, that can lead to you becoming, as I say, a go-to source of information on HP Software's, products and portfolios and solutions, if you will. And then finally, what's also in it for you guys, in terms of the Vivit, the community membership and collaboration, this kind of program will allow you to accelerate and amplify the visibility of those programs by sharing our collective content to a broader audience. So that's all around increasing awareness of the programs you have in place, and then encouraging individuals to become much more active on your own forums and blogs on the Vivit website. I'm now actually going to, before I pass over to Ted, who's going to touch on LinkedIn, does anyone have any questions at this stage? Okay, Ted. If you like me, I can.
On the slides.
Do you want me to drive the slides and you talk?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Cool, no problem at all.
Thank you, sir. So awesome. So as Mark was just saying on the last slide, building your personal brand is not only something that you can do before you kind of start getting social via optimizing your LinkedIn profile and things like that. But it's also something that can really, happen as you, start to really kind of, get in the game of, posting, industry content every day. And, some of this might be, a review or a refresher for all of you on the call, because I know we're kind of all, fighting the same fight. We're over here, kind of building a community of advocates internally, of employees, and, similarly, you guys are, building a community of customers and users. So I think that some of this might be review, but we can, this is definitely a huge part of our program for employee advocacy is personal brand, and it's a big part of getting people on board to join the program. So I wanted to run through a few slides today, and we did a little bit of homework on everyone that was on the call today. We actually have good friends at LinkedIn who provide us with some data on who's kind of ahead of the LinkedIn game in this room. So we have categories here for earliest adopter, which is who is on LinkedIn the earliest, most connected, which is the most first-level connections, or first-degree connections. Most popular is whose profile is viewed the most. And then most endorsed is the most endorsements on your skills that you list in your LinkedIn profile. So let's just kind of get to the awards ceremony now. Earliest adopter. We have, drum roll please as Mark moves the slide.
Oh, here we go, sorry.
Oh no, the names. Well, there you go. Rocky is the, there it is. Rocky is the earliest adopter.
Sorry,
Yes.
apologies, Ted, apologies. It sounds like you're crackling on the line.
Sorry.
Are you able to, yeah.
Hold on one moment.
Apologies, everyone.
Just grabbing my headphones, maybe it'll work better. Hold on. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Oh, much better. Yeah, sorry, Ted. Thank you.
Awesome. Sorry about that. All right, so I don't think Rocky's on the call, but congratulations, Rocky. Most connected. So again, this is the one who has the most first-degree connections. Christopher, is Chris on the call? No. All right. Well,
he's busy getting more connections.
exactly. He's busy being a butterfly. All right. Well, definitely congratulate Christopher because that is a huge honor, especially in a room like this. So definitely congrats, Chris. Most popular. So this is again the the person with the most profile views, and that is Karen. Also not on the call. Wow, this is so anticlimactic. Congratulations, Karen. And then most endorsed, Mark, why don't you give us that one? That one is Richard.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Well, I am on, so that's nice. Thank you.
That is, I think, probably one of the bigger accomplishments on LinkedIn is, it's kind of a testament to how much networking you really do on LinkedIn, because not only do you, add skills, but you're also, probably endorsing people and having them endorse you back for things that they, have seen you display in your work, and getting endorsements on skills is definitely not something to look lightly upon. It's it's a personal endorsement that someone has viewed your work and agrees that you're an expert or close to an expert in a certain field, and it can really help give someone a sense of your expertise when they drop onto your profile if they see a post on LinkedIn from you, for instance.
That's great. Thank you.
Awesome job. All right. So moving right along. So like I was saying, a huge piece of getting employee advocates on board is really the personal brand that you can build online, and we think that LinkedIn is probably the best place to start, especially at HPE. There's varying levels of social savviness. And so, while we could, say, you have to be on LinkedIn, you have to be on Twitter, you have to be on Facebook, it's just not muscle memory to everyone yet. And I think that LinkedIn is probably the place where you can make the most impact anyway from a B2B perspective, LinkedIn and Twitter. But Twitter, has its own, nooks and crannies that you kind of have to explore before you get super comfortable. So LinkedIn is where we start. It's the world's largest professional network. It's over 400 million members, and it's really not just a place to look for jobs anymore. And I think, as I saw most of your LinkedIn profiles on this call, I think you guys all kind of get that. It's definitely a place to, it's almost like it's a visual, kind of version of your resume where you can, not only talk about what you're doing in your work and what you've done, but also kind of all of those qualitative attributes and skills that you've acquired over your career. And it just helps you, having this optimized LinkedIn profile helps you, again, be a credible source of information to someone who, sees your post on LinkedIn and wants to know, if they want to follow you or connect with you. So, most of you might know this already, but just in case you weren't aware, you can actually turn off your activity updates on LinkedIn so that it doesn't broadcast every single profile update that you make. This kind of combats that notion that, if you're updating your profile, you're looking for a job. So just to avoid any confusion, you can easily turn off those broadcasts so that you don't have to worry about people thinking that you're looking around. And then the goal is to get everyone to this all-star status. And you can see on this slide, there's kind of that visual representation of your optimization of your profile up in the right-hand corner of your LinkedIn profile now. It used to actually kind of be buried under everything else, but now it is right there for you to look at, and it can always remind you how optimized your profile is. And then that sliver that you see, kind of that white sliver at the very top of the red or the blue circle, sorry. That's just LinkedIn telling you that you can always do more. You're never going to see the bubble completely full, but we get a lot of questions about that, so I thought I'd mention it. So then, kind of a cheat sheet for optimizing your profile. Mark, if you could go back just one slide. Just kind of a cheat sheet of where to really make the most impact for your profile. I think that I saw most of your profiles. It looks like you guys all have pretty good headshots and taglines and headlines to your profile. So I don't think I need to harp too much there. Definitely for the experience section, highly recommend projects that you can add now. Which kind of it breaks up the text of your profile, gives people, a visual element to look at and to, kind of see a visual representation of your work. So if you have any, projects or videos or external slide decks that you've worked on that you think would be good to highlight, highly suggest, putting them as projects in your profile so that you can, just give some more, visibility to your extraordinary work. Next slide, Mark. And then moving down the profile, honors and awards and certifications are all places to, kind of shamelessly brag about yourself. You can list anything that you've acquired over your career, and it really just, again, helps build that expertise, build that credibility. It's for people that are just kind of coming on your profile for the first time. And then skills. So if anyone has any questions about skills, definitely reach out to Richard. But definitely want to list the skills and technology proficiencies you've acquired throughout your career, and then gain endorsements on them. So endorsements are super important because only the skills which are endorsed by your connections appear in your public profile. So the profile that your non-connections see. And then the skills with the highest number of endorsements appear in your top skills list. So if you have a particular skill that you want to be known for, you should try to solicit endorsements for that so it's kind of near the top. And you've all seen this, your kind of wall of endorsements in your top skills at the very top. And that's the first thing you look at when you come to the skills and endorsements modules. So having your skills be at the top that you really focus on is pretty important. Next slide, Mark. Oh, and that's it for me. Or is it? Actually, I can go through these two while Mark readies the demo. So this is where everyone's social comes in. So once you have a optimized LinkedIn profile, you're feeling good about your personal brand online. Now is when you become an advocate of HPE software, of Vivit, of your professional endeavors. So we have this everyone's social platform, which as you can see from the screenshots to the right, it almost is like a flipboard. It's kind of your go-to source of HPE software content, third-party enterprise software industry news, and all of that content is kind of formatted in this wall of news and innovation and blog posts and videos and all good stuff that you can easily share. You can share anywhere, anytime, as we have the desktop version and as the mobile app as well, available on iOS and Android. We have the leaderboard for gamification, so you can always be tracking, how you are doing against the wider ambassador base in terms of engagement and reach and click-throughs that you're seeing. And you can also we can also build smaller leaderboards for specific teams to really kind of create some gamification competition within the platform. We have analytics, again, tracking everything from impressions you receive to clicks to the engagements you get, and it kind of tracks your engagements per share and clicks per share over time too, so you can see kind of the quality of the sharing that you're doing and if you want to tweak your strategy at all. And we have various groups or content streams that you can subscribe to, and once you sign up for the platform, you have the ability to sign up for any and all of these if you want. So we have an admin, a content admin, feverishly pumping content into each of these streams every day. So we have multiple product line or BU specific streams like big data, automation and cloud, apps, ops, mobility, security. The full product portfolio is represented. And then we have some specialty streams. So we have our HPE event stream, which gets, which kind of as an addendum to that, we also create a discover stream, a protect stream, whenever any large events come around that we want the ambassadors to focus on. We have a product launch stream whenever we have announcements and news. We also have, an HPE software doc streams. That's the, oh gosh, I always forget. Mark, remind me which countries that is. It's the DACH region of Europe.
Yeah, Germany, Austria.
Germany, Austria. There you go. And so we actually have some ambassadors from that region where we're serving them, localized content through that stream. So it's kind of cool because the possibilities are really endless for our streams, and I think that as the program grows more and more, I could see 5, 10 more streams being added for different types of employees, different languages, maybe different different initiatives that kind of pop up around HPE software.
That's brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much, Ted, for going through LinkedIn and introducing the platform. I will now, it's my intention now to go through and give everyone a demonstration of the product, the application, I should say. So I'll end the slide deck for the time being. I'm just going to jump over to my browser. Can I just, Ted, can I just double check that you can still see my screen okay?
I can.
Looks great. Looks great.
Brilliant, thank you. So, for those of you that are not familiar with the platform, or the application, if you will, I thought we'd run through 3 key areas today. So the first thing I'm going to sort of introduce everyone to is what we call the company stream. I'm then going to introduce the company stream, the different kinds of content streams that Ted has introduced earlier, and how we manage those, and the types of content that gets populated there, and how we're working with the Vivit marketing team in particular to surface content from around those particular programs. I'm then actually going to show everyone how easy and simple it is, or how easy it is, how quick it is to share a piece of content via the application to your personal social network. And so I shall demonstrate that very shortly. And then finally, what I'm going to highlight to everyone is some of the features and functionality that are really enhancing our ambassador experience. And when we talk about ambassadors, these are individuals that are signed up to the program. And I'm going to dive into a little bit of that a little bit later, but they're sort of the 3 areas that I'm going to touch on during the last part of the call and Q&A. So for those of you that haven't been introduced to the application before and haven't seen this, what we're currently viewing is what we call the company stream. And this is, as Ted mentioned earlier, is almost like a sort of flipboard, if you're familiar with that type of approach to aggregating and showing content on a screen. This content stream in particular, the company stream, basically surfaces content from all the different lines of business within HP software, whether that's security, whether that's big data, whether that's application delivery management, BSM, service portfolio management. So And behind the scenes, we have what we know as community managers that are within HP software. Those community managers are very much aligned to the different lines of businesses. With regards to Vivit, we have a number of the Vivit team who are also community managers, and they also have access to populate or curate content, if you will, into this company stream and the other relevant streams that you're seeing on the left-hand side. So down the left-hand side, just for those that you can see, I have, because I'm a community manager myself, I have access to all the different types of content streams that Ted was alluding to earlier. These tend to be based around line of business or industry or tech themes, if you will. As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of different community managers that are aligned to those businesses and curate content in. The Vivit team members that we are working with, who are community managers, they have, as I say, the opportunity to surface content in those different content streams, if you will, and also the company-wide stream. When an ambassador signs up to the program, they are typically they're given visibility, I should say, to some key content streams. One of those is the company stream. So at present, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, we have just over 1,200 ambassadors, if you will, using this application. So, you know, sharing news and innovation that's taking place within software and also some of the Vivit activities out to their personal social networks. As I say, when they sign up or request to sign up to the program, they get given access to certain content streams based on the areas of the business that they support or the areas of interest that they notify us of via a small SurveyMonkey form. As a user, you're presented with the kind of screen that I'm seeing now, and you can see varying types of different content being populated onto the platform by our community managers. I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later, but typically we see around a sort of 60-40% split of HPE/Vivit content, if you will, versus industry third-party content. And that's a kind of mix that we are very comfortable with, but we're also pushing for more third-party industry-type content. Why am I mentioning this and why is this relevant? Well, we understand as program managers and community managers, if you will, that while our ambassadors are very keen to share news and innovation that's taking place within HP software and, say, within the Vivit community, they're also interested in building their own personal brand. Now, you know, as I look to build my personal brand on social, I'm going to be sharing software-related content or Vivit content, but I'm also interested in sharing other types of content that's non-HP related or Vivit related. And that's because I want to give my communities, if you will, on social, a better understanding of the kind of, to help build my own personal brand and personality, if you will. So we fully appreciate that not all of our ambassadors will want to share all that type of branded content all the time, and so we actually instruct or ask our community managers to source third-party content that's also relevant to those different content streams. As a user, if I'm interested in actually having a look at the article in particular, for example, on the top right-hand side of the screen here, I would literally click on the article, and then in a new tab, I'm presented with the content itself. So in this instance, this is a guest blog by David Jones, who runs our information management and governance business within software. So this is an IT experts community blog post, I believe. So that is you have a very quick and easy way to click on the article, have a read of the article, and then make an informed decision on whether that's a kind of piece of content that you'd want to share out to your personal networks, social networks, I should say. So without further ado, I thought it'd be really useful for everyone on the call just to show, as I said earlier, just to show you how easy it is to share a piece of content. So I'm actually going to dive into our BSM, or Business Service Management content stream. And if I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the individuals on this call, if I'm interested in creating a little bit of visibility around an activity that I know that's going on, what the Vivit is organising, I know that I've just come into this content stream and I've found a piece of content that's been curated by one of the community managers from the Vivit organisation. I think it might have been Stephanie, in fact. And here we can see an article that creates visibility of a webinar that's taking place next week on the Network Node Manager. So as I mentioned earlier, if I was interested in having a look at a piece of that content, I would just click on the picture and I would be taken through, I'm taken through to the Vivit website, and I can see a little bit more information about when and how to register for the event that's taking place next week, and some additional information which I'm sure all of you are aware of as being Vivit board members in terms of the website. So that's actually of interest to me. So how would I go about sharing that content out to my social networks? It's very simple. I would literally click on the share button that's shown in the UI. And at this stage, as a user, I'm presented with this dialog box that's popped up. Now, very, very quickly, and I won't dive into too much detail now for those on the call, but if and when you decide that joining the program is something you'd like to do, when you become a member, or an ambassador, if you will, you can connect the application to the different social networks that you have in existence. So here you can see that I've connected my Twitter account, my LinkedIn profile, and then you also have the opportunity as well to connect your Facebook page if you wish to share content on there, and you also have the opportunity to share content via email. So in this instance, very quickly, if, for example, I wanted to use this application for sharing content, but I realized that a contact of mine actually wasn't on a particular social platform or wasn't, using social a great deal, I actually have the opportunity to send them a very quick email via this application highlighting them to a particular article. I can also share to Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and Google+. Won't major on those today, but we can certainly have more of a deep dive around the sharing on those social networks at a later date if everyone wishes to. But I'm going to...
Mark, I've got one quick question, and that's one of the concerns that I have. I follow an awful lot of people from HP on LinkedIn, on LinkedIn and Twitter for that matter, and I do sometimes see the same content multiple times. Now, obviously, people put their own little twist on it and say, this is an interesting article because, and I wonder what you put in place to prevent us from accidentally, effectively spamming people with, repeat information. Is that something that you obviously have a team, and then each country, for example, within the HPE software sales and marketing organization, they'll presumably have their own ambassadors, you described them on this platform. But yes, I'm just a little bit concerned that we'll end up just repeating what's already been said, and we need to try and make sure that our message is relevant and not too repetitive. So I just wondered if you had any tips for how we do that.
Certainly. So, I mean, Richard, we certainly don't have anything formal in place where we restrict people on the content that's being shared. And I mean, if I take a step back, what I would say is there is a huge amount of content within this platform, within the different content streams. I think, gosh, there is probably at least, I'm hazarding off the top of my head, I'm suspecting at the moment, there's probably at least 2 to 3, if not 4 pieces of content going into each content stream every day. So it's actually a very valid comment and a very valid concern. But I would say that there's huge amounts of content. So it's not necessarily something that we, as I say, we put in place from a formal perspective. However, what I would say is one of the best practices that we do advise our ambassadors on, and it's interesting you bring this up in terms of seeing the same content a number of times, especially on LinkedIn. You can sometimes see the same content. However, what we do advise our ambassadors to undertake as a best practice is actually change the LinkedIn copy that they are sharing on those platforms. Because you're quite right, they may well be sharing the same article, but from a best practice perspective, it's all about how you tailor that message to your own communities. Does that help? So while I certainly understand your concern, I would say it's not a concern that we are overly concerned with ourselves at this point in the program.
That's fine. I mean, it may be that I follow an abnormally large number of people who are all saying the same thing. I think that's quite possible. But also, if there is a lot of content and we all pick stuff at random, the chances are we're not going to overdo it. So I suppose we manage it if and when that problem arises. So. Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's put it this way: if we were starting to see that, if we were starting to get any form of negative feedback from ambassadors in terms of, them getting feedback from their communities, then that's certainly something we can address if needs be. Absolutely. But as I say, nothing formal in place at this stage. But great
Yeah, that's
question.
great. Thank you.
So I'm actually quite keen to share this piece of content around the webinar for next week onto my Twitter profile. So I can share that very, very quickly via this application. So if I click next, all of our community managers, you can see a dialog box you're presented with. So all of our community managers are responsible for adding an appropriate image to that piece of content, which is a best practice. And they're also responsible for making sure that there's some appropriate tweet or LinkedIn copy that's accompanying that article that, if from a marketing 101 perspective, is going to draw attention to the individual or the communities you're sharing with and attempt to get them to click on to find out further information. I'm actually just going to change this myself, and I'll explain some of the finer points in a moment. So I'm actually just changing this myself, considering just what we touched on a few moments ago, Richard. There we go. So I've just tailored that tweet to go out on my personal Twitter stream. There's a number of you will probably notice that there's no link there pointing towards the Vivit website. Well, that's already taken care of via the Everyone Social application behind the scene. A long URL or any form of URL that is put into the Everyone Social application is then shortened, and that allows for some of the reporting from an analytics perspective that I'll touch on very shortly. But I'm actually now going to share this tweet to my personal network. So if I click next, I then have the opportunity as an ambassador to share that now, schedule it, or queue it. In this instance, I'm actually going to share to my Twitter account straight away. We can touch on at a later date scheduling and queuing. What I would say about both these features is we will often advise our ambassadors from a best practice perspective when they're looking to make social a daily habit. The scheduling and queuing feature that Everyone Social has in place is incredibly powerful, and it's something that we advise our ambassadors to look into and use. And we can certainly, as I say, dive in, go have other calls, if you will, to dive into those pieces of functionality at a later date. But if I decide to share that piece of content now, that should have shared that to my personal Twitter feed and that's been in within a matter of clicks. So if I refresh my Twitter feed, there we go. You can see that straight away that piece of content has been shared to my personal network, social network, with a link through to the Vivit website, which is obviously creating traffic for your brand website, which is good news, pointing people to the registration page. In my instance, on Twitter, I actually have a huge array of followers, both personal and professional, and also from sort of the analyst community, and also from from other areas of the tech industry as well. So from my perspective, sharing this kind of content to my own Twitter network is something that I often do as a best practice. Some of you out on the call may not have Twitter profiles. You may be more interested in sharing this kind of content on LinkedIn. We can, as I say, have other calls to talk more about the other social channels and the merits of those social channels at a later date. But that's just shown you very, very quickly how easy it is to share a piece of content on a social network. Before I dive into the third section of my demo, does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, so moving into the final sort of part of the demo, what I want to do is highlight some of the features and functionality that really enhance our ambassador experience. So the first one that I'm going to sort of show everyone is what we call the browser extension. Now, as I've been demoing, I've demoed just a few moments ago how to share a piece of content that is already residing within the platform. But it may well be as you become more active on social, or those of you that are already active on social or active on the web, you might have read a particular article on a particular publication that you found incredibly interesting. And you think to yourself, actually, I want to share that to my social network. Now, Well, typically you'd usually need to take that link and maybe shorten it, or post that link into your LinkedIn profile, your Twitter account, and have an appropriate comment or text to go with it. Well, via the Everyone Social application and the browser extension, you can do that very quickly again via the application. So in this instance, for example, earlier today I was reading about the problems that Twitter encountered, I believe it was yesterday, in terms of their network going down. Here in EMEA in particular, there were huge problems at the beginning of the business day, and the Twitter network was down. No one could access it and view all the great information it's been sharing via Twitter. So if I was interested in sharing that piece of content out to my social networks, and I have the browser extension installed, which is available within the app, I should say, under the goodies section, all I would need to do is click on the browser extension in the right-hand top of my Google Chrome browser, click browser extension, and then again you are presented with a dialog box, I should say. Now at this moment I can decide which social network I would like to share this article via Wired with in the usual manner that I showed you a few moments ago. So I could click next, I could add some appropriate copy, if you will, say that from a best practice perspective, acknowledge it was from Wired, add some appropriate industry hashtags, and I've already had an image included as part of the way that the API within Everyone Social pulls material across. I could click next, and then I could schedule queue or share now as previously. However, it could well be that I've just read this article is a really interesting article about cybersecurity predictions in 2016. And it may be that I think that is a kind of article that is very relevant for the other ambassadors on the Everyone Social platform or the other Vivit board members that might have signed up. So within this dialog box as a user, I can actually suggest this article to the community managers, of which I'm one, or there are members of the Vivit team as well. I could then choose an appropriate content stream. So you're presented with the different content streams that are available. So I might decide that I feel it's relevant for all the ambassadors, so they could see it in the company stream and it be security related. And then I could add a comment like, great article, all ambassadors should be given access, for example. If I then hit suggest article, that then makes all the community managers like myself aware that an ambassador has made a suggestion for a piece of content that should be made available. And that's a great way of adding value not only to your experience of the Everyone Social platform, but also to all the other ambassadors' experiences as well. I'll cancel that. So that's the first piece of functionality that I thought I'd like to highlight that enhances our ambassador experience. The second piece of functionality that I'm going to highlight is what we call tagging. So it could well be that I'm currently, as a user, sat in the application, and I think to myself, oh my goodness, this webinar next week that Vivit are holding, I really could do with letting my colleague Brian keep him aware of that. And I actually think that Brian might like to share that piece of content via his social networks. So simply by using the @symbol and typing in Brian's name, I'm automatically presented with the individuals on the platform who have the name Brian. So I'm actually interested in Brian McDonald, who's on the call, and I'm going to give Brian visibility webinar taking place next week. You might wish to share. I'm going to share that with Brian, and although Brian is not sharing his screen, he would then be notified by this little bell that someone within one of the ambassadors who's using the application has sent a message to him, making him aware that there's a piece of content that he might be wanting to share. So that's a great way of fostering collaboration amongst our ambassadors and increasing visibility of certain articles. There's also a piece of functionality that is notifications. Now, this is basically a real-time feed, if you will, of content that is being shared by the other ambassadors on the platform. So again, this is another great way for ambassadors to be kept up to date with the kind of content their colleagues are sharing across and out to their own social networks. And it could well be, gosh, I've just seen this article here by Stephen Spellecy about joining the information management user group. So I could, for example, click on that, and it gives me visibility of the article that he has shared out to his networks and something that I may be interested in reading. So that's another, as I say, another piece of functionality that enhances our ambassador experience. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've touched on HPE branded content. And Vivit content. I've made you aware that we also surface third-party industry content in the platform, and there's also a way of sharing content that you find yourselves out there on the World Wide Web as well. Well, the platform also gives our ambassadors the ability to have their own personal content stream. So this is a content stream that you can configure in a number of different ways to bring you content that you are genuinely interested in outside of the Vivit community, outside of your normal day jobs, outside of your partner organizations or customer organizations, outside of what HPE, for example, or software is doing in the industry. So for instance, you can see that I've got mine configured to pull in from a number of different data sources. If I click on manage streams, you can see here that there's a number of different news feeds that I can sign up to that will bring that news content through to my personal stream, or I can actually configure my personal stream based on things like RSS feeds, Twitter usernames, hashtags, or keywords. So as you can see here, I've got I've got content being pulled in from a number of different sources. So again, it's another way that it enhances our ambassador experience, but also allows you to share content very easily again. That allows you. It's all part of that building your personal brand on social, to help you build your personalities out there on those social networks. So that's another piece of functionality that enhances the ambassador experience. And I'm very conscious of time, so the final piece of functionality that I want to touch on is the analytics functionality. So up to now, thank you, Mark. So up to now, we've been demoing how to share content, and that's great, and it's a huge part of the platform. But as ambassadors, you're going to be really keen to understand how that content is performing on your social networks in terms of, how well that is reshared by your community and the types of levels of engagement that you receive on that. So I'm just going to change the date range here from my own perspective to include November. And very quickly, because I'm very conscious of time and people have hard stops, but very quickly you can see here the pieces of content that I've shared over a particular time frame, the networks that I've shared that content to, and the types of engagement and shares that content has received. And why is that important? Well, that is actually a great feedback mechanism for us as ambassadors to understand whether the content that I think my community might like is actually really engaging with. So that will end up forming a very good feedback loop in terms of how you tailor your own content strategy out there on the social networks. So apologies, I'm very conscious of time and that we're certainly up to the hour. That concludes the demo. Stephanie, do we have a few more moments for the board members, or do we actually have a hard stop at the hour?
Richard, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I can overrun a little bit, but I can't speak for everybody else.
I think Colin Colin and Mark have left. Sure, Q&A, great. Should we just open it up for whoever can stay on just for a few more minutes? Does that sound okay?
That's absolutely fine with me. I can just run over.
Okay. No, this looks good. I mean, I already use Buffer, so I can see some similarities in that, you can share and schedule and do all those kind of things and also see your own analytics, but I can see why this is better because it's like a Buffer team account rather than an individual one. Yes. So I can see why it's got more collaborative tools as well.
Absolutely. I'll just dive onto the company stream. Anyone left on the call that has a specific questions that they'd like answering?
So everyone's social, is that something that Vivit would need to join? I mean, it didn't look like it was something that you join individually, is that correct?
Oh, sorry, no. So in terms of yourselves, you can join this. You would join this as individuals, absolutely. So we would like to offer you guys as board members of Vivit the opportunity to sign up and start using everyone's social application. Now, within the Vivit organisation, and apologies, I don't necessarily know too much about how the workings of the organisation, but people like Stephanie also have access to the application as well, and they have what we call community manager access, which allows them to populate Vivit content onto the platform. So what I will do very quickly while I'm still sharing my screen, one of the last slides that I wanted to show you. So this, if you can still see my screen, just gives you a very quick overview of the numbers of people that we currently have on the platform and why what I'm sort of mentioning is relevant to you guys. So we have over 1,200 ambassadors on the platform. So it's 1,200 individuals that are using this application and sharing content on a daily basis. Those number of ambassadors equate to just over 1 million connections on social networks, predominantly on Twitter and LinkedIn. So immediately, for those of you that are familiar with these kind of terms, that gives you a very quick insight into how far and wide the kind of content that you guys and the programs that are being run by Vivit in terms of its reach and potential audience. But yes, to answer your question, sorry, you are having the opportunity to sign up to this as an individual. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds great as well. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I suppose the obvious question is, how do we start? what do we need to do next?
Richard, that is great, because believe it or not, I actually have a couple of slides. So very quickly, and as we mentioned earlier, we're going to be sending around the slides after today's call. So this email alias is how you would. So basically, you just need to send an email to this email alias requesting sign up to Everyone Social, and myself and Ted and Zealous get sight of that, and we will then activate you. We'll set you up with an account. You will receive an email from Everyone Social, the application itself. You will just need to activate your account and connect your social networks. You'll then receive a welcome email from myself that will just detail an overview of the program, and it will also provide you with some links to some documentation that will help you get started. And there's even a video of my colleague Ted as well, giving a demo. This is a video demo of some of the functionality that I've gone through today. So we certainly.
And real quick, if anybody that's still on the call wants to join, we can bypass that step and just get you guys set up versus having to send us an email. So if you guys are interested in doing that, we can just go ahead and get you guys set up.
That sounds even more straightforward. I was about to send you so if you want to sign me up, that'd be great. What details would you like from me? Do you just want an email address?
That's all I need, yeah. Just an email, please. Just an email address, please, Richard. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, fine. Possibly the easiest way for all of those of us who are on the call who just want to go for it, we've all got the same email format. So it's, mine is richard.bishop.
Okay.
And then we're all vivit-worldwide.org.
Lovely, fantastic.
So
okay.
any one of us who's on the call will be the same format. So if people just say their first and last names, then you can just take it from there.
Okay.
I think we may have had a few drop-offs, but I'm guessing that Jill and Stephanie would be possibly the first two, and then everybody else can mail that
email address. Okay, cool.
An email address, yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jill.
We'll also need, there's a lady called Rhonda Caranta who is taking over as effectively...
She's already set up, Richard. Rhonda's already set up.
Oh, she's already on it. Oh, great. Okay, that's brilliant.
I suppose to just sort of add to that, Richard, what we've done is we've sort of laid the foundation with with some of the Vivit team already. So people like Rhonda and also Rocky, I think it is. They've also got community manager access as well. So those guys can now start adding content to those different content streams, not only for people like yourself to share, but also all of the other ambassadors as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Anything else, you guys? Any other questions for Ted or Mark? All right. I wanted to thank you both very much for presenting today. I have a lot of fun using this platform, and it's very easy to do. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So I will pass that along. So
yeah, thank you both very much. I really think as directors, you guys are all really good.
It's great, yeah. Thanks for letting us be a part of it.
No problem at all. And what I would say as well, guys, is, to all of you guys from Vivit as well, is we are always looking for feedback in terms of how the platform can be enhanced and improved for our ambassadors to make that experience, as simple and easy as possible to from an advocacy perspective. So please, as you start to explore and use the application more, don't hesitate to drop myself, Ted, or Zealous, or even Brian, who's part of our extended team, an email with some of your feedback from a user experience perspective. Work very, very closely with everyone's social, and they're very keen to, enhance the platform, not just for us, but also their other customers as well. So feedback is greatly received.
You got it. We're a shy group,
That's okay. I feel like apologies for my enthusiasm and talking, I suppose.
Well, you spent time with us, Right. Okay. All right. Anything else, you guys? Richard, what would you like to? So we'll look for your email, Mark.
Yep.
And Ted, from Mark and Ted, and then you guys are signing everybody up. Jill's putting everybody's name into chat, and if you need any other help, let us know, and we'll look for your PowerPoint and the demo link. So
cool, brilliant. I'm hoping I can just grab these before it will. Bear with me one moment. I'm just going to grab all of these before it's too late.
Oh, sure. No, we will not do a thing.
Just want to make this as simple.
We won't shut the meeting off because, that won't help.
Yeah, that top name's very easy to mistype as well. So you've done the right thing by getting it in.
Yeah. Bernard Simsak. Yeah.
I think that's everyone, isn't it?
That's all that I who was on the call. I didn't know the others since they weren't on. If they got information, if they'd even know what to do with. So I thought maybe those who couldn't join us, we'd want to handle that a little differently.
Yeah, what we can do is we can send them the slide deck when it arrives and let them know that if they want some support, they can either get it from one of us who's been on the call or Stephanie, for example, and do it that way.
Sure.
Yeah, or alternatively, I'm more than happy to run another call for those that want to hop on as well. So yeah, more than happy to do that as well if needs be.
Thanks, Mark. That's really sweet.
That's okay, no problem. Great.
Okay,
well, look,
great.
I just say thank you to Jill and Stephanie for setting up. Thank you, Richard, for allowing us to come to your meeting and present. That's very much appreciated.
That's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, and this is great. Thanks for including us.
More than welcome, everyone.
Yeah, have a good evening, and Ted, have a good day. You're just getting started.
Thank you.
Speak soon, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.